Good evening, dear friends. Today, we're diving into the topic of flat feet. How many scientific papers have been written about flat feet, yet the medical community still hasn't reached a consensus? Can it truly be treated? Is it possible to cure flat feet? Can insoles actually help? Or are they just a crutch for our feet? Finally, the debates are over. At last, we have answers about how to treat flat feet, why they develop, and why restoring the arch of the foot has been so challenging in the past. We'll also explore how much the foot, as insole manufacturers claim, impacts our entire body. According to them, a lowered arch means a less joyful, less healthy, and potentially shorter life. Let's start with the basics. What supports the arch of the foot? Primarily the foot's connective tissue system. Interestingly, if you were to experience a peripheral nerve injury, paralysis, or plegia, where the foot becomes completely immobile, the arch of the foot, if it was intact beforehand, would initially remain. Even if the muscles weaken entirely, the connective tissue would hold the arch for a time. But over time, the ligaments would fail as well. Ultimately, everything depends on a single muscle, the posterior tibial muscle. This muscle is located deep within the leg, under layers of larger muscles. First, the gastrocnemius, then the soleus, followed by the toe flexor, and finally the interosseous membrane. The posterior tibial muscle works tirelessly, supporting the arch of the foot. Now, it's important to understand the purpose behind this structure. Just as we can flex and extend our arms or bend and straighten our knees, the foot has a crucial amortization function. The bones in the foot, as you might notice, are all movable. Between each bone and its neighbor, there are joints. Everything moves together. When we step, the arch of the foot flattens and rises repeatedly, creating a cushioning effect, an essential mechanism for absorbing impact. But improper foot mechanics, often referred to as poor foot walk-off, can cause wear and tear. Car enthusiasts might relate to this term. When the foot's pivot point shifts inward, the arch collapses. This changes the position of the knee, causing it to tilt inward. As a result, more weight is placed on the inner side of the foot, which increases stress on the sacroiliac joint. This joint, along with the knee, starts to experience trauma. The lumbar spine can also be affected because the pelvis adjusts to these changes, altering its position slightly to compensate for the limitations in the sacroiliac and knee joints. So, what does flat feet lead to most often? In our practice, we frequently observe complications such as osteoarthritis in the hip and knee joints, as well as weakened abdominal and leg muscles. These issues can create additional strain on the intervertebral joints in the lower back. Over time, even the intervertebral discs may struggle to withstand the added stress. Conversely, when the load shifts to the outer edge of the foot, it alters the alignment of the entire leg. You can try a simple test. Shift your weight to the outer edge of your foot and stand. Notice how your knees move. They'll rotate outward. If we shift the weight to the inner part of the foot, the knee also moves inward. If one side of the body shifts inward and the other outward, you'll notice this difference right away. A change in the foot's position immediately causes the knee's position to change as well. To restore the arch of the foot, the first step is to restore the gastrocnemius muscle. We need to adjust the angle of movement. We need to adjust the angle of movement by aligning the knee with the foot, so that, during motion, the knee doesn't collapse inward past the foot. We also need to strengthen the gluteus maximus muscle. In nearly every case of flat feet, there's either weakness in the gluteus maximus or excessive tension in the piriformis muscle, which tries to compensate for that weakness. What about an insole? Is it good? Can it help by compensating for the lack of an arch with something placed under the foot? What happens then? It might seem like everything should improve, but the truth is that most foot problems, particularly a lowered arch, are secondary. Flat feet are rarely caused by the foot itself. Flat feet are often a consequence of issues higher up in the body. Rather than being the primary problem, they frequently worsen pre-existing conditions, which are often linked to changes in the position of the pelvis. A shifted pelvis is a common underlying cause. Flat feet are also commonly accompanied by shortening of the iliopsoas muscle. In most cases, flat feet begin in childhood. But why do some children develop flat feet while others don't? Some local researchers believe flat feet are linked to insufficient crawling before a child begins to stand. When we're born, we go through various developmental stages: birth, crawling, walking, school, work, and so on. Before we walk, we must crawl. Initially, we crawl on our stomachs, pulling our feet to the sides as we move forward. This early movement develops the oblique abdominal muscles. A specific sequence is established. It activates the muscles in the arms, legs, and torso in a coordinated way. If a child doesn't crawl enough, these oblique muscles don't develop properly. The next stage is crawling on all fours. During this phase, the abdominal muscles and iliopsoas muscle develop as the legs are drawn forward. This stage strengthens the connection between the abdominal and back muscles, ensuring they work in harmony. If a child skips this stage and is encouraged to walk too early, because, for example, parents worry that other children are already walking, this puts premature stress on the feet before the abdominal and iliopsoas muscles are fully developed. This premature load on the foot, before the muscles have fully developed, is what leads to the formation of flat feet during childhood. This is often how flat feet form during childhood. So what can we do now? Should we start crawling? It's too late to go back and crawl like a baby. That ship has sailed. You'd need to do a significant amount of crawling. Crawling your way to work or around the grocery store won't help. People at the store won't understand you. Society might not appreciate your determination to restore your foot's arch that way. Now, you need to restore each muscle individually. What should you do? First, let's focus on the latissimus dorsi muscle. How can we develop and train it? Watch carefully. For this exercise, you'll need a rubber band. The gluteus maximus muscle, when it contracts in isolation. I'm not tired, this is just a seated exercise I'll demonstrate. It performs this movement. With the leg extended like this, it moves inward. Here's an exercise that effectively works the gluteus maximus. Pay attention, friends. This applies to both transverse and longitudinal flat feet. The posterior gluteus maximus muscle. Let me show you again. It's right here. It is connected to the foot. The tendon keeps it in place. Right here, it's attached to the arch of the foot, holding it steady. Let's move on to an exercise to strengthen it. Focus. First, secure a resistance band to your foot. It's better to anchor the band to something solid rather than holding it with your hands. Ideally, the heel should be positioned above the knee. The motion will look like this: inward against the resistance of the band, then slowly return to the starting position. Inward and slowly back. This simple yet effective exercise specifically targets the gluteus maximus on both sides. Right and left. Do 3 sets of 10 repetitions. For those who already have flat feet, you can even do a variation of this exercise while sitting upright at your desk, even when you are wearing your shoes. Keep your feet close together and press one foot against the other. It's beneficial to put some effort into this exercise here. This exercise also benefits people with knee pain, knee joint instability, arthritis, meniscus issues, or those recovering from knee ligament injuries. It turns out to be highly versatile. That's the first exercise. Now let's move on. Second. It's important to get used to engaging your foot arch. We'll use the same resistance band. Watch closely what we're doing. Take the band and secure it like this, wrapping it around both feet just above the ankles. Now stand up. Stretch the band to create tension, then start placing your feet on their outer edges. As the band stretches, you'll feel resistance. Relax, stretch, relax. Repeat this cycle several times. While doing this, pay attention to your knees, ensuring they turn outward. Perform 10 to 15 repetitions of this movement for 2 sets. For the third set, do it statically. Stretch the band, hold the position, and maintain the tension for 20 to 30 seconds. This helps your feet adapt to the exercise. An important note: during this exercise, avoid lifting your big toe or the joint of the big toe off the floor. Your foot shouldn't lift entirely onto its outer edge. Instead, keep the toe in contact with the ground. This way, you'll not only feel a rolling motion onto the outer part of the foot, but also notice the arch of the foot starting to lift. What's happening here? By performing this movement, you're strengthening the posterior tibialis muscle to compensate for the weakness and overstretching of the foot's ligaments. Until the ligaments shorten and the arch of the foot naturally forms, the posterior tibialis muscle takes over the load. Now, friends, another critical aspect of this exercise is engaging the gluteal muscles. When placing your foot on the outer arch, place your hands on your glutes and tighten them. Alternate between tensing and relaxing these muscles. As you do this exercise, you'll notice that your calf muscles are also activated. This is the second stage of the exercise and an important step. Next, we need to train proper angles for knee bending, foot positioning, and ankle movement. To do this, stand near a wall. Place one foot close to the wall, ensuring it's in contact. Imagine the wall passing through you as I demonstrate here so you can see clearly. Now, I move my knee toward the big toe, almost reaching the wall, but I make sure to support myself with my hands so that most of my weight is on them. This way, I develop my ankle joint and train my knee to move correctly, avoiding inward movement past the big toe. For those with flat feet, the knee often tends to move inward naturally. Next, I move my knee toward the little toe. As you do this, you'll notice that the arch of your foot begins to rise. For individuals with flat feet, this motion is particularly important as it helps develop proper movement patterns in the direction of the little toe. Finally, I move my knee to the middle position between the two extreme positions. Repeat each motion toward the big toe, the little toe, and the middle 10 to 15 times. This exercise helps form the habit of keeping your knee aligned correctly during bending, ensuring it moves within the boundaries of your foot. So, friends, this is where we start the restoration of the gluteus maximus and the arch of the foot. Now, do you need to wear insoles? That's an interesting question. Let's explore the answer. There are two types of insoles. Hard insoles that consistently support the arch of the foot, and soft insoles that don't provide noticeable support. With soft insoles, the arch still collapses, so wearing them makes little difference. Hard insoles, however, can be useful for people with flat feet, particularly if they need to stand in one place for extended periods. For jobs or lifestyles that involve prolonged standing without movement, orthopedic shoes with hard soles or hard insoles can help maintain the arch. But for activities like walking or running, hard insoles are not recommended. While they may support the arch, they can disrupt the natural alignment of your knee and pelvis, transferring stress to the knee or hip joint. Ultimately, you need to decide what's more important, managing flat feet or avoiding conditions like knee arthritis or hip joint arthritis. Personally, I think flat feet are less troublesome than hip arthritis. What about you? Share your thoughts in the comments. Well, that's it for today's episode. We meet here daily or weekly on our YouTube channel, connecting in these corners of the internet. Tell us in the comments, what are you up to? Where are you? What are you working on or eating right now? Bon appetit to everyone enjoying a meal while watching this video. And remember to stay active and help your parents. Until next time.